All right, here we are, Michael.
Hello again.
Hello. So you've been running around a little bit here, and
Yes.
that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's kind of a good illustration of the nuts and bolts of running a place like Foundations for Living, or any nonprofit for that matter.
Never a dull moment.
No. And when I say he literally came in, like we were on the countdown video getting started, and he rolled in. And it's a lot of illustrations going on today about the nuts and bolts of running a place like this, because if they drive by right now or go by the area, they'll see Jim, one of our board members, out front planting trees.
Yes.
And not because we necessarily wanted to beautify the area, but it's stipulations.
Yes. Got to have a rule for everything, and everything has a rule. So
Yeah, and
that's how it goes in town.
yes, yeah, and it's not really one of our rules. It's we put in a parking lot in the back. The city told us we had to put in a parking lot, so we did. But they said, because you put in a parking lot, now you need a bike rack, some flowers, some shrubbery. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a Monty Python Holy Grail there. So, what we're going to do today is talk to you about the nuts and bolts of running a center like Foundations for Living, and we're going to go step by step. We want to answer your questions, and we're giving away something today.
What are we giving away, Bob?
All right, actually two things. So I like our coffee here.
Yes.
It's all right. It's K-Cups and stuff, and but you're a Minneapolis guy.
Yes.
And so I thought I'd give you one.
Ooh.
Caribou coffee.
Aha.
It's better than Starbucks.
So this was my first job in Minneapolis.
Really?
I was working at the Caribou Coffee.
Okay.
In Linden Hills. So
nice.
I'll treasure this up, and maybe I could bring it with me to heaven.
There you go. Yeah, if you go north, I understand there's Caribous. Well, there's one in Point.
Yeah. Yep.
And but now there's they're all over the place in Minnesota, and I'm heading there Thursday evening, so I'm going to partake in Caribou.
Yes.
Where the two older kids are going to Grandma's Camper up in Phillips, and then we're going to take Noah and go up to the Mall of America for 2 nights and do the Crayola experience.
Oh, wow, I've not seen that.
No,
the last time I was there, it was still Lego, I think.
Okay, well, it's still Lego. There's still Lego, but up top there's a Crayola experience now.
Okay.
So, and Noah absolutely loves that. So, all right. So, you viewers that are on right now, you could win an impressive prize.
Yes.
Yes. So you could change my last name to Eubanks, and that'd be even better, Bob Eubanks.
Yes.
So, but what we're going to give away is something from our thrift store. And so if you comment, you can win this lovely.
This is almost as good as a brand new car.
It is. It's a punch bowl set. And so it comes with a ladle, a lovely ladle. Might need some cleaning, but just a little bit. And punch bowl cups. They're actually glass. And you and I were both talking about our affection for punch.
Yeah, I missed that. I think that's something we got to start back up for our kids.
Because
I have not probably been 20 years now.
Yeah. I know at Christmas get-togethers and, of course, church potlucks, it was always, ours was either 50-50 or 7-Up.
Okay, yep.
And you throw a glob of sherbet in there and punch. Fruit punch. Hawaiian punch, actually.
Okay.
Well,
we lived on the other side of the tracks, so we had the stuff you had to mix.
Okay. All right. So comment right now, and we're going to draw a name at the end here, and someone's going to win the punch bowl set. And that way we can get this off our shelves, really. But, each week we might do a glamorous thrift store find.
Yeah.
Yep. This, too, could be yours. So, all right. I'll put that down without dropping it. But, again, if you're watching, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're from, and it'll show us your name. We want to say hi to you. And if you're watching this podcast after it's aired, you can still comment. We will reply to you, and we want to answer your questions. So here's the thrust of the podcast today. I want to start a nonprofit. Okay, let's say I'm not at Foundations for Living. I want to start a nonprofit. Can I just rent a house or open mine up and just say, hey, we're going to start applying for grants. Everyone's going to start giving. You've been here longer than I have. And is that a possibility, or what does it take?
Well, if you'd like visits from various city officials and police departments, that's one way you could start.
And that's probably not as an endorsement.
No.
Okay. It would.
No. Yeah, if you want to get to know your neighbors very quickly and not the best way, that would be one way to do it.
Yeah.
However, in this world that we live in, that is just there's so much to it. There's so many little things, and sometimes it's almost unthinkable of because you're not going to be able to know what is going to be thrown at you,
Right.
with whatever your precise location is, along with whatever the rules might be for that particular zone code.
Mhm.
And then of course you do have the neighbors to consider. They can say no,
Yep.
and oftentimes will say no.
Yeah.
The idea is in your backyard, not mine. So that's sort of what you're up against initially, and then you have to think about, okay, do you have a tax exempt certificate? Have you gone and filed that? That's not a short process.
It isn't a short process.
I mean, dozens and dozens of pages, and that's if they say yes. And there's a filing fee, and
So and back up, just because you file a tax exempt certificate for whatever, a church or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in.
Right.
You have to wait for the final approval.
And that's a guy at his desk with all the paperwork and the $500 that it takes to submit it to get reviewed. That's, if you're lucky, that happens. That's why they make accountants and lawyers, and
of which we are not.
We are not. No.
So,
I have all my marbles still. But those are really difficult things to do, and so it's costly, it's time consuming. There's no guarantees, and there's really no guarantee that you get to even keep that either. There are there are monthly and annual filings, and there are if you were to get involved in a specific industry or whatever, that might change your tax exemption. For instance, our thrift store, you make above a certain amount of money, that can cause issues with your tax exempt certificate, or you may have to just charge taxes then.
It can
to the consumer. So.
Yeah. And again, if you're watching, feel free to comment, ask questions, and we're going to draw a name for the punch bowl set. But so if you have the property, okay, and this is something that, whether you're in Milwaukee, that's my hometown, Minnesota, you were from, if you're on the outskirts of Waupaca or in the city of Waupaca, there's different guidelines for everything.
Yes.
And you find out, and one of the questions that might get raised is, well, why can't I open my home to be a warming shelter? Because, one of the things we deal with here, and I realize this can be a tough topic for some people, but if you open a warming shelter right in your neighborhood, in your house, the people that come from all walks of life, and you will get addicts, you will get, and you're going to get registered offenders.
Yep, absolutely.
And that right there kiboshes any thought of having a warming shelter right in your home.
Right. There's a level of privacy and safety and security that you have to consider. Especially if you have family. If it's you by yourself, that may not be as big of a consideration, but you have neighbors.
Yeah.
And not to just say that, well, the average American might poo-poo that idea, but you do have to consider their safety and be a good neighbor.
You do. I mean, there's all different levels of people that deal with crime, and some of them absolutely cannot be in those areas. Right. And so what you do when you go ahead and start up something, if you don't do your homework, you become a liability, and now you're going to be facing potentially a lot of fines.
Right.
And you don't want to go down that route. So that's the first step of starting foundations, and they did all that. If I remember right, this place was incorporated in 2010. Correct. But it wasn't actually launched till 2011.
Right. Yeah. It takes that long for a tax exempt certificate to come through. And then you have to speak with the people that are on your governing council, whether that's a township board or city council like we have here, and they have to sign off on that and say yes. And then you run into things like, okay, sure, but put in a sprinkler system or put in a parking lot, or and the average person, unless you've saved well, those things are expensive.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, our parking lot alone was in the thousands.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And that was using recycled stuff. But what's amazing then is, like we're talking about today, the nuts and bolts of running a center like this is that, okay, so you got your parking lot, right, but all of a sudden now there's other stipulations when you do an upgrade. That's why, as we mentioned earlier, Jim is out front planting trees, right, to beautify the area. And Okay, so we want a sign. Okay, there's another thing. If you're gonna start a center, you need to advertise, but there's stipulations for that as well. And the church I pastor, we've jumped that hurdle plenty of times, and we really do. This isn't a slam against our city. We really do have good officials, and they just want to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and
Yeah, I mean, it takes a special person to be able to sit down on and have your municipal codes.
Yep.
And be able to, first of all, read them and understand them. That takes a special person. And then secondly, to know what liberties you have, and how can you help the shelter stay in business, but also not get to the point where the state would want to step in,
right?
Such as a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
So obviously, with our building the way we have it set up, and the fact that it's a relatively low combustible building, there's not, it's just drywall and
no
cement.
basement.
No
It's just a
basement.
slab.
No actual hardwood. It's all metal 2x4s in the our city officials would probably look at that and say it's pretty low risk, but in order to have the state from stopping the state to step in, we're going to have you do these few things.
Yeah.
So and to just know and to have to deal with the people that are always going to push the limits, and then the people that are just going to flat out ignore it and hope to not get caught. And so there's in those positions, those are not easy jobs either, I suppose.
And let's just say, if you do something in a smaller town, you will get caught.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's just
Yes.
It's word of mouth. Someone's gonna, and these days, all it takes is you to start something without going through the proper channels. You post something because you're excited on Facebook.
Right.
That's it. You've just sealed your deal. And honestly, regarding the combustibility of this place, you would argue that even the studs are metal.
Yeah.
So
studs are metal. The sheetrock is fire resistant, pretty much fireproof, and then everything is divided by cinder block walls. So it'd have to be pretty hot to get that stuff.
It would be going. Yeah. We want to welcome your questions. So if you have a question for Michael and I, it can be anything regarding the what we do here to who's our favorite superhero. We'll address your questions, but again, we're going to draw a name to win the illustrious Punch Bowl set from our thrift store. We'll give that out at this show here. But comment, we'll put it up on the screen and we'll get to it. So you go through the channels, you get your nonprofit. Okay, you get your license to do that. You get your FEIN number, tax exempt certificate. Now you got to fund the thing.
Right.
And you will, because by default, people, there will be people that give to your vision.
Right.
Okay. So $100 check, could be more than that. But the money to run a foundation really comes from our grants.
Right.
And maybe you could speak to some that got, I mean, you spearheaded our IT grant.
Right.
And that was huge.
Yeah. Those are the things that you don't think of oftentimes, or what comes around to get you. You might, we raise funds for building and maybe even an employee to work there. And now all of a sudden you're like, we have to have computers and network and security system and
phone,
and all those things, phones. And all of a sudden you're looking, and now, just for IT, we're talking $30,000 to jump in, and then a $20,000 to $30,000 a year budget for just that every year.
Yeah.
And so now you look at the job you might have and go, there goes all my income just for that one specific sector. And so you have to be able to explain that need to a grantor and give them a good reason why this is something that you should do. And there are a lot of really generous foundations that are out there that will jump to meet those needs. But if you don't have any experience in asking, if you don't have any experience in actually writing the grant, and you need to have your ducks in a row, or they will just jump to the next place that's submitting it.
And I can tell you firsthand, grant writing is just more than sitting down and writing a story.
Yes.
I've been denied.
Yeah.
But we've also have received quite a few, and it's so you have their utilities around the place, your phone, you have your internet, you have computers, the very fact that you have to invest in signage, all of that stuff really takes, and you're not going to do it all yourself.
No.
And so that requires staff.
Yeah, it needs staffing, and those people need to be paid. And since you're not selling a good per se, you need someone that will be able to jump in and help you with getting funding for that. And oftentimes that comes in the form of a grant, Usually fundraising, you can, in a community this size, you can do well.
Yep.
But you're not going to be able to do the best job that you can do with the right people in the right amount of time without foundations.
Right. And that's this that I was looking for a picture on my phone here because I want to put it up and brag on Val just a little bit, but I cannot seem to find the photo anywhere. Of course, it was a last minute thought. So, oh, here it is. So what I'm going to do is put this up here because when we're talking about people that help run a foundation, you know, and to make it run smoothly, it really takes quite a few people. And you know, one of our people that we really have scored big time with, has been a blessing with, is our office manager.
Yes.
You know, Val. She's been doing a fantastic job at that. And you know, here again, she came in, you know, probably December.
Yeah. Yep.
And she had quite a bit of experience. And, you know, in years past, we've been a part of the parades in Waupaca. We've been a part of the 4th of July, which one were Manawa Rodeo,
Parade, yeah.
and more than that. But I came into foundations a couple days before the parade just to get everything lined up, flyers wise, thinking, you know, I also pastor a small church, and you will soon be as well. And you know, a church that's going to be growing and stuff, but you wear many hats.
Yes.
And so it was a relief to come into this. Here, I'll put the picture up. This is what Val did. You know, it was just everything's there.
That's another special skill set that I don't possess, which is called detail.
Exactly. And she had it down to like the numbers, you know, the first half of the parade, second half of the parade.
Yes.
And she just did a phenomenal job getting all those ducks in a row for us. So we're very thankful for her. But, you know, our other staff members are, we have Jane, who manages a thrift store. We have, and I realize a lot of foundations, you know, like Foundations for Living, they won't necessarily have a thrift store. They'll take donations and stuff. Right. So that's a special aspect of our organization. But then we have Jill, who does program director, and you're the assistant director. And so you deal with IT, volunteers, just, you know, really we have our titles, but we wear many more hats.
Yes. Yep.
We're plumbers. We're electricians.
We are.
You've been in electrician mode for a while here.
A couple days now.
Yeah. So, and so it takes volunteers to run. Now, regarding the grants, to back up a little bit, you have your license, your nonprofit, all of that stuff. Now, the way the government works, you have to apply for other numbers as well. There's the UEI number, which is really the gold standard in numbers for applying for grants. It used to be your DUNS number, DUNS, but now you have the UEI number, which we have, and we've just reinstated. And that is, so in other words, if you go in to apply for a grant and you don't have those in place, they won't even look at you.
Right. And those are necessary to an extent. I mean, there have been people that have ruined or made it challenging anyways to get these grants and to keep your nonprofit status because they chose to use it for funneling money for politics or supporting a particular political cause. And so that, as people would just blur those lines enough, there has to be some way to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And so that's the way that they have to do it. And so because of people making those decisions, making those choices, we now have to then jump through a bunch more hoops to get those numbers so that we can even be considered. And you need to know that with those, almost like a social security number and credit score, you have a nonprofit reputation and credit score kind of tied to those numbers as well. Yeah. So it's necessary in the world we live in today, but it is what it is.
Yep. Because let's say, for instance, we're waiting on, we were awarded one grant for quite a few thousand for the warming shelter. You know, what they don't want to see happen is us buying a new copier, you know, or the potential of a van or something like that. Without those funds, they would rather, and that's why we got a report, which big time blessing. I talked to the Fox Communities Foundation a couple weeks ago, and she said, we love what you're doing. And this is what Michael was just talking about having good rapport. is they love what we're doing. They love what we're doing, especially this summer. And she goes, we don't even need to do the reports anymore. Let's just talk on video.
Right.
I'm like, shout and holler. I don't get super Pentecostal, but I was doing the Price is Right dance in the aisle.
That's a good feeling to know that you're not going to be bogged down for the next 6 months, constantly having to write up what you're doing, where you could just have a regular conversation,
right?
Regular person, and say, okay, yeah, we like what you're doing. And that's a result of, there are not many other places that are doing this in rural Wisconsin at all. I mean, we're one of the very few, and we've been doing it in a way that I believe, honors the public and honors God and honors the people that are coming in. And so they see that, and they're willing to help at that point.
Yeah. So as with any podcast, we don't know where this is going to go. Okay. We don't know who's going to listen to it. Could be somebody in Arizona. But one thing Michael and I would like to do and offer, because we're on the same page with this, and a few other things, it's
You're
good.
in there.
You're
spotty, but
theology. I'm just, but if you're watching this video and God's put it on your heart to start a nonprofit and you're wondering how to do it, we're available. We'd be happy to meet with you in the Zoom meeting, but certainly if you want to pick our brains, we are here, and we would welcome you to stop in, because in Wapaka, it's not a large community, but it's decent for a smaller city. But no matter where you're at, I don't know that there can ever be enough of these.
No.
And it's like a church, it's fine to have another church, and because we have 8 beds in our warming center. That's going to be changing over the next few weeks. We're excited to share some news with you about that. But with 8 beds, and it rotates, the fact is there's 6,500 people in Wapaka. Right. And so we're just literally, I don't even know if scratched the surfaces.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And there's all the homelessness, I think, that we don't see. When you get reports from the school district saying, sometimes upwards of a third, of students are, at least by statistical criteria, homeless, which means they don't have a bed and a dresser. That's really all they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so if they don't have a bed and a dresser, they're not considered, they're considered to be homeless, unless they're in their own, like in their own parents' home.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of staying with relatives, staying with friends, staying with different, family members in order to get through. But oftentimes that looks like there's the couch and a cardboard box that, or whatever you need to put your clothes. And so realistically speaking, if there's that many children in the school district that hit that number, then we know that as far as adults are concerned, there's even more. A lot of couch surfing, a lot of, and they're in and out and moving from place to place to place, barely hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a lot in there, and in any city, if somebody's wanting to start something, I don't care if you're from Fargo, North Dakota, or right here in Wisconsin, we're available. We want to help you use us as a model and pick our brains so that you know how to go in it and do it the right way. Because last thing we want you to do is pursue your vision, your dream for your community, and do it the wrong way and get fined. Okay. And so we can help you walk through that. We're here by your side, and Foundations has been here for 11 years. And so we kind of know what we're doing. But as with anything, from any business to a church to a place like this, we're learning every day, as well. So, but we want to share that knowledge with you. One of the things I want to talk about, did you have anything else you want to?
No, that's
maybe we missed.
That's the long and the short of it.
Okay. One of the things I want to mention at the end here is that we have Foundations Fest coming up Saturday, August 6th. Michael, your church is playing.
We are. We're doing some jams outside, and we'll probably have a mix of contemporary Christian and just some regular everyday music.
Nice.
Just to kind of mix it up a little bit. And so I would say to definitely come down. That's going to be a great time. We're gonna have a lot of fun. It's August, so it's going to be hot. So we're looking forward to some brats and some ice cold water. And I was even told there's even a possibility that someone's bringing a slushy machine. So that would be a big deal.
That is a possibility.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So,
and not just any slushy machine. I'm making the call today because I'm going to try to use it for our church picnic.
Okay.
But it's from Sundrop.
Okay.
So they take the Sundrop soda that you put in your slushy machine, unless you're thinking of something different. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's a little bit of heaven on earth.
Yes.
And then the church I pastor, Radiant Fellowship, is going to be providing all the meat for the cookout, and we welcome any other churches. I don't want to. Well, we're both kind of edgy guys. I'm kind of surprised that we don't have more church involvement.
Yeah.
We did email 60 some churches to get involved and be here on premises. That we want to promote. This is not Foundations for Living is not a church.
Right.
We encourage other churches to get involved, and at the very least, even at Foundations, have your pastor here, have a board member here handing out flyers to your church, because we want to promote all the churches in our area. And so if you're watching this, your pastor hasn't gotten in touch with us, and we're the only 2 pastors that have gotten involved so far that we know of. Let us know. We'll get you plugged in. We'll let you share your resources, hand out flyers, whatever you want to do. But we're going to give out school supplies as well, and there'll be a lot of cool things. The Salvation Army mascot's going to make another appearance.
That's a lot of traveling for that guy.
It is. It is. And surprisingly, in the parades, people were excited to see the Justice League, but they clapped when they saw the Salvation Army guy.
It's a blessing to be able to be associated with Salvation Army.
Mhm.
Everybody knows the logo.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the kettles and the Christmas time bell ringing and all that.
Yeah.
And so it's just what a fantastic partnership.
And chances are, if you come into our center, because we've worked out a partnership with them, if you come into the center, you need gas or a food voucher or rent utility assistance, it's because we work in collaboration with them, and you're probably going to be getting the help from them through us.
Correct.
To do that. So that's something to think about too. If you're thinking about starting a center, look at partnerships, because it really helps what you do and brings a lot of attention to your center rather quickly. So, all right, Michael, I think we have things to do.
All right, I think so.
And you're still working on the locks?
Yes.
All right. Jim's digging holes out front. I got 2 teens running around here trying to figure out what to do.
Anybody that wants to help, come on down. We'll
Yes.
take you as
Yep.
you are right now.
Stop on down. And nobody commented.
Nope.
So I think we're going to have to give the punch bowl away next week.
Yep, I think so.
And but again, if you want to stop down, volunteer, if you want to give towards this program, it's all gifts are tax deductible. And we welcome any amount. Every bit helps to make this place happen. So all right, you guys have a good day. Thanks, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you.